So Dan Bilzerian went on Piers Morgan's show and unapologetically swatted aside Morgan's usual slogans and slurs, while at the same time speaking about heavily censored topics without flinching or even breaking a sweat.
You've been very vocal about Israel in particular. You know, even when Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, was killed by the IDF, you were out lauding him as a hero. You know, to most people, he's the despicable head of a terrorist organization that perpetrated on October the 7th one of the worst terror attacks in modern history. What's heroic about that?
Well, I think when you look at it in a vacuum, it's a very different picture. It's kind of like if I raped your mother and I kicked you in the nuts 3 times and then you punched me in the face and everybody just wanted to focus on you punching me in the face. I think that would be a very different conversation than when you looked at it, you know, the whole of what happened. And the whole of what happened was Nakba. You know, that's where it started. You have 750,000 Palestinians that got displaced. And then you've got multiple acts of terror, in my opinion, on Israel's side that would make October 7th look like nothing. So to me, I think it was a retaliation, and I think that Hamas is a resistance organization, and I think that Israel is a terrorist.
When did Israel kill 1,200 people in a single day and wound nearly 7,000?
15,000 people killed during Nakba. I mean, there was Sabra and Shatila. I mean, that was 3,500 civilians. Then you have 2014, they killed 1,500 civilians. 500 plus were kids. I mean, so any one of those days would have been much worse than October 7th, but nobody really talks about
those
that.
Didn't happen in a single day.
And October 7th is not nearly as bad as what they say.
Well, those didn't happen in single days, as you know.
Well, I mean, Sabra and Shatila, I mean, that was 3,500 people, so that was basically 7 October 7ths. And October 7th, I think the numbers get inflated a lot too, because you're not taking into account that it was only 650 civilians, and there was the Hannibal Directive that was employed, and the Hannibal Directive is when the military is basically killing civilians so that they aren't taken as hostages, and that had to be hundreds of people. So I would argue that it was less than 500 civilians that were killed, and to me, that is much less than what the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians. Even the year when October 7th happened, they had killed hundreds of Palestinians that year. It was the bloodiest year for kids. So that was a reply to what had been happening.
It's hard to imagine a more horrific act than what happened that day. Why would you try to downplay it?
Well, I mean, there was only 2 babies killed from what I was told, and one was in the hospital, and the other one was shot by a bullet. There was no babies in ovens. There was no, beheaded people that I saw. The rapes were disproven. So all that was Israeli propaganda. And the problem is Israel has continued to lie and lie and lie, and they've been caught lying. And they're the only ones that have actually been caught red-handed raping prisoners. And they've done it, and the people that raped the prisoners were now heroes, and they got released, and there was nothing that happened to them. So I think it's very hypocritical to focus on things that they're doing and then try and blame them, on Hamas or the Palestinians.
It's interesting because
it's just, to me, total bullshit. It's just Israeli propaganda. During, Sabra and Shatila, there was a, girl raped in front of her father. And, that's happened on the other side numerous times. I mean, it happened in the prison. I mean, they were literally rioting because they felt like they had the right to rape these prisoners. I mean, look, I got no dog in this fight, Piers. I'm not Palestinian. I'm not Muslim. I'm just saying what I believe is right. And let's just say there was rapes. I mean, I think that's terrible. But like I said, they are, an occupied state, and they're operating in apartheid. So when you are kept in an open-air prison, there's going to be resistance. And how that resistance manifests itself is, it's going to be violent eventually. I mean, if you kill enough people and you take enough land and you treat people like second-class citizens and you're stealing land in the West Bank and you're just basically, encroaching these people's human rights on a daily basis, there's going to be repercussions. So I'm not going to be the judge or jury, and I'm not going to condemn these people for fighting back. I think nobody had an issue with South African apartheid and their resistance, so I don't know why there's an issue with the resistance in the clear apartheid that's going on here.
Israel has wiped out around 50,000 Palestinians from then to the present day. And like Dan said, within the year October 7th happened, which was 2023, Israel had already eliminated hundreds of Palestinians before that day even took place, all of which is conveniently ignored by Zio puppets like Piers Morgan. Dan also brought up the fact that members of the IDF have been graping Palestinian hostages, many of whom are children, and were disgustingly hailed as heroes for doing so. Piers's response was that Dan's claims are BS, which from the evidence I just showed you is a complete lie. Dan also spoke about the horrific rape of a girl in front of her father, which didn't even result in a drop of empathy from Piers Morgan. Dan also spoke about the personal ramifications he has faced since he started speaking up against Israel, and made the valid point that if anyone speaks up against them, they are heavily censored. On a much smaller scale, I can confirm this to be true, as I too have experienced experienced this very recently. And did you notice Piers didn't disprove any of the points Dan made? He simply resorted to accusing him of being anti-Semitic. Let's look at the last clip where Piers continues with this slander.
There is clear evidence that 6 million people, almost predominantly Jewish, were killed in the Holocaust. 12 million were killed by the Nazis in total. They were a genocidal monstrosity, the Nazis, who wanted to eliminate the Jewish people, and they tried extremely hard to do that.
You said 12 million were killed?
The Nazis killed 12 million people in World War II. 6 million were killed in
You said 12?
6 million were killed in the Holocaust. Or do you not believe that either?
Okay. Well, let's just accept the 6 million figure. Jews have killed far more Christians than that. I mean, it's not even close. If you look at the Bolshevik genocide, you look at the Holodomor, I mean, they've killed way more Christians. I mean, they basically invented the genocide. So they denied the Armenian genocide. Israel denies that. They've lobbied the U.S. to deny that. I'm Armenian. They killed half of my people. And I'm not offended by that. You know, if somebody questions that, it's not some crazy thing. Israel denies the Armenian Holocaust. Okay?
It sounds to me, Dan, like you do actually hate Jewish people.
No, I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to the world today. I look at what they're doing in the media. They're pushing this transgender nonsense. I mean, and they did it in Germany. The first transgender clinic was opened by a Jewish guy. And I don't like this perversion pushed on our children. I don't like the fact that 9-year-olds are reading about homosexual acts.
But again, you're blaming Jewish people. Why?
Because they're pushing this.
What do you mean they're pushing it? What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, they're controlling the media. I mean, the DEI is being pushed by BlackRock. BlackRock's execs are all Jewish. You know, you look at where this is coming from. It's not a surprise.
Dan,
all the Disney execs are Jewish.
Dan,
they're pushing it on children.
But do you accept, Dan, that you are just blatantly anti-Semitic?
Look, I have an issue with that term. I mean, I think the real Semites are the Palestinians. You know, the DNA test that they've done on the Israelis that are living over there, they're Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews. I don't even think they're actual Semites. They don't have ancient Hebrew DNA, which is why DNA testing is illegal in Israel.
But, I mean, you're literally denying their existence now. I mean, you are just a brazen anti-Semite, aren't you? You hate Jewish people, you hate Israel, you hate the state of Israel, its government, everything about it. You're blaming them you blame them in this interview for literally absolutely everything.
When you say, well, I think most of the problems today is caused by Jewish supremacy. I believe that.
I'm honestly gobsmacked that you would say all this publicly, given what a high profile you have.
Yeah, I mean, it is not it's not a popular opinion for somebody that, you know, cares about money and cares about, you know, not being canceled. I mean, that's the problem, is you can say whatever you want against Muslims. You can be, you know, super anti-Muslim. You can talk about them and nobody cares. But if you say anything about Jewish people, you get canceled. Look what they did to Kanye. Why are they such a protected class? Let me ask you that.
I don't think they are. I think they're a class that get targeted by people like you.
When you have a religion that promotes supremacy, when you have a religion that says that you are better than other people, and when you have a religion that says it's okay to steal from other people as long as they're not Jewish, when you have a religion that says it's okay to rape people that aren't Jewish, when you have a religion that talks about having sex with kids that are under 3 years old, when you have a religion that promotes these things and promotes supremacy, I think you're going to have problems. And you see that in Israel. Israel is a manifestation of that religion. And I think that religion is, you know, it's terrible. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy at all. And right now, I think you have massive Jewish supremacy.
You sound like a Nazi.
I mean, why do you say that?
That's literally what Nazis would have said in World War II. They would have literally articulated their hatred of Jewish people and the reasons why in exactly the way you've just done.
I don't have a hatred for Jewish people.
You do.
I don't like a religion that says that they're better than other people. And what's that?
Well, you do. You obviously do. It's blatant. No one watching this will draw any other conclusion. I'm staggered about how brazen you've been.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't like it when people think they're better than other people. And you see that in Israel, and they're acting like that, and they're treating Palestinians like second-class citizens. They're treating them like subhuman beasts, and it sells that in their Talmud. So it says if you are not a Jew, that you are basically subhuman. And I don't think that Judaism and Christianity go hand in hand. I mean, they believe that Jesus is in hell burning in human shit, and they believe the Virgin Mary is a whore. So I don't think those are two religions that really intersect very well. But you know, we've been programmed that they do, and we've been programmed that it's okay and that Jews are the chosen people, and I just disagree with that. I think everybody's equal.
Do you even comprehend how this interview is going to play out when it airs?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be bad, but my opinion is not politically correct, but I believe that is the truth.
You're living in Qatar now.
Well, that's where I'm at right now. I'm not living here, but visiting.
Right, is it the case that you feel safer to spew this kind of stuff from Qatar than you would spewing it in the United States?
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of Jewish people attack me since I started standing up in support of Palestine. When I started saying things that were against Israel, I found that I had my Jewish business manager tried to extort me. I had lawyers do things that were illegal, and I found a lot of just hatred from the Jewish community because I was speaking out against a genocide, and that really opened my eyes to what's going on.
You know why Jewish
like I
people?
said, rarely is it the case that people on the right side of history are the ones that are trying to silence people.
Yeah, the reason Jewish people may dislike you is because of your obvious hatred for them and everything they stand for. I mean, you've literally spent the last 20 minutes on an anti-Semitic rant that makes Kanye look like a choir boy. I'm staggered, but also bemused as to what you think you'll gain from this, other than you're just laying bare your anti-Semitism for everyone to see.
I don't think I'm going to gain anything. I think it'll be horrible for me, but it's what I believe. I don't think that Jews like Christians, and you see it when they killed them during the Holodomor, the Bolshevik genocide. I mean, the Bolsheviks, the leadership was 84% Jewish, and they were just mass killing Christians, and nobody talks about that.
Let me just ask you one more time. Let me just ask you one more time to be honest.
History books don't cover that.
Right, let me just ask you one more time, just for clarity. I think you should be honest. But do you hate Jewish people?
No, I don't.
Then why do you spew such hatred about them?
Well, I don't like what they've done. I don't like what their religion preaches. I don't like what's going on in Israel. I don't like their influence over our government. There's 2 billion Muslims, but everybody wants to, promote this anti-Muslim, this hatred for Muslim, like they're all, these terrorists. And I think the Israelis are the terrorists. I think they are the ones perpetuating the big acts of terrorism. And, nobody wants to talk about that.
And what do you say to Jewish people who may watch this and be utterly horrified by what they're hearing?
They can be horrified. I mean, I was horrified to find that they mass murdered Christians. I was horrified to learn the things that they teach in the Talmud. I was horrified that they think that Jesus is burning in shit in hell. I was horrified that they think that the Virgin Mary is a whore. I was horrified to learn that they think it's okay to steal from Gentiles. I was horrified to hear that there's, 2 sets of justice. I was horrified to find out that they think it's okay to, gang rape Palestinian prisoners. I was horrified about all those things. I'm horrified that we're funding a genocide right now. So they can be horrified.
Piers Morgan is a hypocrite to the highest degree. You'll have people like Douglas Murray and the so-called son of Hamas on his show spewing disgusting amounts of anti-Muslim bigotry, and he never as much as challenges it. In fact, he's good friends with Murray as well as other pro-Israel bigots. Dan hit the nail on the head when he said that people are free to bash Muslims as much as they like, but that would not be tolerated if it were Jewish people receiving the same hate. I don't think any group should receive hatred. However, Dan Bilzerian is telling the truth about normalised Islamophobia. People build brands from anti-Muslim content. Even politicians these days further their careers by echoing anti-Islam sentiments. However, if Jewish people were on the receiving end of the same hate, there would be legal ramifications as well as heavy censorship. Honestly, Dan left no stone unturned during this interview. He even called out Christian Zionism and how these are 2 differing belief systems, pointing out how Judaism opposes fundamental Christian beliefs and figures such as Jesus and Mary, who Muslims hold in the highest regard also. No matter what you think of Dan Bilzerian, you have to respect his courage to tell the truth without caring what people think.